Welcome to week 5 of mobile APIs and frameworks. We're going to do a little bit of a recap of last week to make sure that we are back in the space of APIs, going over what we covered last week and then just moving on forward with that. So, does anyone want to tell me what we did last week? What did we build? What methods did we use? What routes were created? Anybody remember?
We created view model controller
Yep.
that created server methods which fetch fetch from the server and to create a to-do application.
Totally. Okay, cool. Yes, so we used a model view controller MVC framework or design to create controllers, routes, and models. We hooked it up to our MongoDB, or it was already hooked up to our MongoDB from 2 weeks ago, and now we are using routes with Express.js. With the routes, we're able to access it with Postman, and we're able to actually send information to the database and receive information from the database. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share of what we did. Let me just share my screen here. So in week 4, if I go into the app and then I shift right click and I open a PowerShell window here, if I type npm start, we'll see it's going to start a server on localhost on port 3000, I believe. 4000, okay. All right, and then I'll also open Postman. And I'll also open the code. So here's the code. Open this folder. There's Postman. Okay, cool. Select folder. Cool. So if you remember, here is our models. So we had a model for a to-do list, and it was a string, and we just asked them to enter the name of the task. And then we also had the date, and then we also had the status. So it could be pending, ongoing, or complete. We also had our controller, which was the functions that actually got called when we visited a route. So we had list tasks and create a task, and those were called from the routes themselves. So the get on the /tasks route would call the list tasks method, and the post on the /tasks route would call the create task method. So we can see in both of those in the list tasks and create tasks, basically we have a request and a response. In list tasks, we only have a response. So it's just going to use the find function here, and it's going to have an error and a task as parameters. And basically, it's going to return, if there's an error, it's going to return the error in the response. If not, it's going to respond with the task from the find method that have been found, all the tasks objects in JSON. So if we do Postman here and we make a GET request on port 4000, I believe, and we do /tasks. If we hit send, there is our tasks. So we've got 4 of them. Cool? Or 3 of them, sorry. We can see there's their ID, which is auto-generated, the name of the task, and then the created date, as well as the array of the status. So we have our get method, and then we also see in our code we have in the routes a post method on the same route. So if I go here and I change it to post, you can see here that if I include this key value pairing of like name, be the coolest teacher ever, status completed, if I send that, it just is going to add that to the database. So if I actually go to my MongoDB here, mongodb.com, and I sign in to my account that is linked to this app, here we go. It's loading. So we'll open our collection, our collections, and then our example database with the tasks documents. We can see here, root a Node.js server That was one of them. There should be a couple more actually. Did I add it? Oh, if I do the get, let's see if it's there. It's testing, TJPI, be the cool teacher. It's in my other database. I have two accounts. This always happens. I have two accounts. It's in my other database. Sorry. We'll just sign into the other account here. Sure. Sign in, and it should show the collections in our database. So if we go to our collections here, and while that loads, there it is. And be the coolest teacher ever. Status, expand the array, completed. Okay. Has everyone got this working on their side? Yes. Okay, cool. So who can tell me, it's okay if you know this or don't know this, take a guess at it. Who can tell me what method we have to use, what method we have to use to update, if I wanted to, okay, so we've got our CRUD operations. We've got CRUD, create, read, update, delete. So far we've got create and read. What are the methods for update and delete in HTTP? Any ideas? DC or Yashu, any thoughts? Don't know, you do know. I think my chat is closed here. There we go. You do know? Where'd my chat go? Put. Okay. Put for update. Awesome. Yashu's got put. Yes, that's correct. Awesome. And then what about for delete? So that would be update. So CRU. What about our delete function? I can give you a little cheat sheet here. It's in Postman. So get, post, put, right? So that's create, read. Read, create, update. Patch is different. Delete is delete. It's the same, which is trick question. Gotcha. So with delete, if we make this and then we do delete tasks, nothing's going to happen. It's going to error out. Same if we do put tasks, right? Nothing's going to happen. It's going to error out. So we're going to create routes for the update and for the delete function of our app here. So I'm going to open up. I'm just going to make a copy. I'm going to make a copy of our code. So from week 4 to week 5, I'm going to open the app here. File, open folder. Go to week 5 app. There, open. All right. And let's see. We've got our controller, we've got our model, and we've got our routes. Okay, cool. Open up. I just like to make a copy because then I have my stuff from week 4 next time I teach the course, and then I have my stuff for week 5 that I'm doing in class with you guys. Okay. So you know that the route is going to be put and delete. So what we can do is we could do a put here, right? Or a delete here. But the problem is it's going to do that to every single task for every single ID, right? And we don't want to delete all tasks in our database. I mean, you could have that option, but that wouldn't be very good design. So we're going to create a new task where you have the task, but then you also pass the ID that you want to delete or the ID that you want to update. Because if you update all of them, You're just going to replace all of them. You want to be able to update a specific task. So right here, route for specific tasks, right? And then we're going to do the same thing, app.route. Now here's the trick, /tasks, and then /: task ID. And the task ID is going to be passing in that value, right? Also, we have to make sure that the exports that we're, the routes that we're exporting, they have to be within this brace. So make sure you move this brace down here. Cool? Awesome. Just going to hide that. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to get an individual task. I want to make sure that that works first before we just start experimenting with deleting. So let's do .get. We do list because that is the var that we're using from our controller. And then we're going to create a method called list specific task. Okay, so here is list tasks. That's going to list all of them. There's going to be a list. I could make it confusing and do list task, like one's plural, it has an S, and one's singular, but that's really confusing from a programming standpoint. So we're going to do list specific task, and then we'll close that off. For now, we're going to add our other routes for our put and our delete later, but okay, so now we can go to, our model doesn't change. Our model stays the same because that's just going to be how the data gets put in the database. All that changes now is our controller. So we have to add a method for list specific task. So I'm going to copy that and do the same thing here. Exports.create task equals function rec res, right? Oh, I shouldn't have typed create task. I was just copying what I have here. I'm just going to paste the value that I have, right? Okay. So we have a list a specific task. Now, how are we going to list a specific task? Well, we need to pass, remember, from our routes, we need to pass the specific ID, task ID that we want. So there's actually going to be in the request, right? There's going to be a param or parameter that we pass into the function. So right here, whoops, same thing that we used earlier. So here we did task.find. So that's our mongoose model, task. If we do task dot, let's see what options we have here. So you see there's a ton of options based on the mongoose model. You have like toString, remove, find one, or find by ID and delete find by ID. That sounds like something that we want. So we're going to do find by ID, and then we're going to pass the parameter into that function. So request dot params dot task ID, because that's what's going to be passed. That's what we mentioned, task ID, right over here in our routes, task ID. Okay. Now there's going to be a second parameter that we're passing, which is going to be a function itself, error task. Okay. So those are the two things that we're passing to that function. And if there's an error, the response will respond back in HTML what the error was. Response.send error. There's no error. res.json with the task, right? So that's going to be the task that it actually finds by ID right here. close that with a semicolon, close that with a semicolon, close that with a semicolon. So we can save that, make sure our, oh, this is from the old server. I need to go to my week 5, shift open PowerShell window here, npm start. All right. Has everybody got that working? This one's on port 4000. So if I do get all tasks here, whoops, not put. If I do get all tasks, this is my original route. I have all of these ones, right? Now I will copy the ID, okay, slash, and then paste that ID. Okay, and that should work now, hypothetically, because in our routes, I've got a get with that route task ID. Okay, so let's run it, and it should return just the one, which it did, as expected. Not the whole list of them, it's just returning the one. So that's perfect, it's finding our specific ID that we want. Cool? Let me know if everyone got that working. Awesome, DC got it working. Okay, Yashu, you want us to wait for you for a little bit? Oh, I gotta sneeze. Oh, nice. Excuse me. Yashu, any problems? You need help with anything? So I would highly suggest doing this code with me in class today, because I haven't got the paperwork written up for assignment 2 yet. It will be due, and I'll post it right after class. But it's going to be this code. So what you've made in class with us, you're gonna screenshot. You're gonna customize it to be obviously like your own thing. It doesn't have to be tasks. It'll be whatever else you want to call it. But it's going to be this code. So for those other students that haven't joined, you know, the classes, it's going to put them behind a little bit, because they're going to have to watch all the videos, or do their own research on how to build their API when they're submitting it. So please don't share your code with the rest of them, just because they haven't attended class. It's kind of the bonus that you're getting being here, 2 out of the 6 students. So don't just give them the code. I'll know if it's, plagiarized and it's the same code, because, that's kind of how GitHub works. I can compare the code. But if you've been following along over the last 3 weeks, then you're going to be all set for assignment 2, if that makes sense. It might be a little bit harder for those students who haven't been in class. Cool. Thanks, DC. Awesome. Yeah, shoot. I'm just gonna move ahead. If I don't know if you can hear me or not, if it's not working for you. No, nothing. Okay. All right. So back to the code. Back to the code. So in the same route with a different HTTP method, so dot put now instead, we have to get rid of this semicolon because we're adding a new method. So with put, we're gonna do the same thing, to-do list, dot, and then whatever we want to create, call it update. update a task, update specific task. All right. And same thing, dot delete to-do list dot delete specific task. Put our semicolon in, save that. That will update the server. Oh, had an app crash here. Through an error message callback function, but got a object undefined. It's probably because these methods don't actually exist yet, right? So we're going to come over here to our controllers, and I'm going to copy this and, oops, copy this. And we're going to rename them to be what we made the routes. So update specific task, delete specific task, delete specific task. Okay, cool. So this will get a specific task by ID. This will update a specific task by ID. And this will delete a specific task by ID. All right, so how do we update a task? Well, we are going to want to do the same similar kind of thing where we pass in requests params task ID, but it's going to be a different method that we use from the Mongo model right here that we created up at the top. So we're going to do task dot, and can you guess which one we're going to use? I actually think we could use this one, find by ID and update, find a single document by its underscore ID field, if you want to query it. And then, but there's also this one, find one and update, which will find a single document by its ID field. Oh, wait. Find by ID creates a find one and update query filtering by the given ID, right? But then there's also find one and update creates a find one and update query, automatically find the first document that matches filter and apply the update. So that's what we want. We don't want to just find it. We want to also apply the update. So find one and update. Okay? Cool. So then you saw it mentioned something here. See if I can hover over it again and get the help method. Maybe it's not going to show. About an underscore ID field. So find one and update use documentation. We want to figure out how this works, how to use the find one and update from Mongoose. So Mongoose, remember, is one of the dependencies we installed with Node. So as it implies, it will find the first document that matches a given filter and then apply an update and return the document. So basically, you can see here this filter. We're going to be filtering by ID. They're filtering by this guy's name. Then they want to update the age. So here they're going to do find one and update, pass the filter, then pass the update. So the filter is going to obviously be our ID value, and then the update's going to be what we pass in Postman here. So how do we use it? Let's see here with variables, atomic updates. Yeah, we want to pass the filter object and then the update object. All right. So find one and update. Before we pass the params IDs, we also want to pass underscore ID is equal to this. And we're going to put it inside a JSON object, if that makes sense. Okay. Put it on the wrong side of that bracket. like that. There we go. So underscore ID, if you look here, that's what that is, underscore ID. So that's going to be the field that it's filtering through. Okay, and we're putting in the JSON object. That's the name value pairing. So this is the value that we're going to put in. All right, and then after this, before we pass this function of error task, we want to do that. We want to pass that anyways. You can see if we add another comma, 3 out of 3. So we have the filter, then we have the the filter with the colon, and then the filter query. So that's the ID and the value, comma. Then we have the update statement, which is going to be the pipe, what we're putting in as the update itself. And then after that, you have any options. So like an error callback in the response. So here we want to pass what we actually want to update our task with. So request.body, all right. And then, request.body. And then in here, we're going to just do new. It's going to be a JSON object, new true. So basically you can see here in the documentation, we're passing the update query with options. So request.body, and then we're also going to be passing raw result true. Raw result true. Just make sure we understand what that's doing. Raw result true. Returns the raw result from MongoDB. So you can set the result flag to make it return the data after it's been updated. If you don't want to return the data, then you don't have to. But for our case, why not? We want to see if our update actually worked. So we'll do new true. Then we have function error task. If error, response to send error, res.json task. So that's what it's going to return after it's been updated. Cool. So that should work. Before we update that, obviously this is still an error because we haven't finished both of the methods. I haven't saved it. If I do save it, it might work because both the methods exist now. But if we call the delete, it's going to still just find it. It's not going to actually delete it. DC, all good? Everything working? Cool. So for delete, basically, we're going to use the remove function. So task, instead of find by ID, we're going to do task.remove. Basically, this is just going to do what it sounds like. It's going to remove it. Same thing. So we do want to pass our request.params task ID, the ID itself, but we're going to do it as as the JSON object again. So with the name value pairing, so underscore ID, and then close those braces off. Task.remove. And then we have our function error task, if error, response.send error, res JSON. And then instead of returning the task, because it's been deleted, obviously, it's not going to exist anymore. Let's create a message, task successfully deleted. Okay, so if it does actually delete it. And then in our function here, yeah, I mean, we're passing in task, but it's actually empty, so we could probably delete that. Function error task, if error, where does that send error? Yeah, cool. So let's save that. Let's make sure it runs with no errors. Connected to DB, cool. And let's use our put. And with our put, so right now you can see for this task ID that I'm doing tasks / this. Right now it says be the coolest teacher ever, status completed. I'm going to change it to be the most boring teacher ever. And then status is going to be pending because I don't want to be boring. And then with the put, we make sure it's on put and we hit send and it returned the data because we had the raw result set to true. And there we go. If I change this to get and I get that task, we can see it did update it. If I get rid of this key and I just do get all tasks, if I scroll to the very bottom, we can see there it is, be the most boring teacher ever. Now, I don't want to be the most boring teacher ever, so let's delete that /task, put the task ID in afterwards in the route, and look at that. The message was returned, task successfully deleted. Tell me if you got that working or not, DC. Pretty cool stuff. Nice. Okay, awesome. Um, so that's great that that's working. I got a deprecation warning on find one and update without the use, find, and modify options set to false are deprecated. Oh, without use, find, and modify. Okay, I might have to look into that to see. Show where the warning was created. Use delete one, delete many, or bulk write. Oh, okay. Collection.remove. Collection.delete one. Okay, let's try this. Delete one. See if that removes that warning. Okay. So now if I want to delete, let's say I want to get task. Delete this task. Delete. See if it works. Task successfully deleted. And yeah, the deprecation warning is not there. Now, if I want to get, get all of my tasks and then say I want to put one of my tasks, send that updated, but we're going to get a deprecation warning, find one and update, and find one and delete. Without the use, find, and modify options set to false, use, find, and modify options set to false are deprecated. Okay, so let's see this. We don't want to use deprecated methods, obviously, because that would be a problem. So let's just see if we can fix this. Mongoose find one update, find one delete without the use, find, and modify options set to false or deprecated. See this. Set. Okay, make Mongoose use find one and update. Note that this option is true. Mongoose set. By default, you need to set it to false. So you can also configure this by passing it through the connection options. So if I go to my connection options, my db.js, and do mongoose.connect, set it, pass it as a JSON after the URI. So here's the URI and then pass it inside the JSON. So I'll just add another thing there and I can get rid of those brackets. Just find and modify true or false, sorry. Save that, rerun it. I'm running out of tasks in my database here. So let's make sure that that deprecation warning is gone. I've got two tasks. I want to update both of them to say the same thing. We'll do put /tasks there, send, no deprecation warning. It just says connected to DB. Cool. And then if I do my task to make sure that they all updated, oops, not put, get, send, they're both the same with different IDs. Awesome. That's great. And the deprecation warnings are gone. Cool. So normally at this point, I would give you guys a 10-minute break, and then we would come back and keep working on some stuff. Today's a lighter day. That was all the stuff that I wanted to cover. So we've got our create, read, update, and deletes. I'm going to create the assignment. Oh, sorry, I just saw your question now, DC. Can you enter one record in it? What do you mean, can I enter one record in it?
Because it's showing me an error when I'm trying to enter one record in it using post.
Oh, for create?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So make sure you're not on /tasks/ anything. Make sure it's just the /tasks route, and then send it. And there it is. So now if I go to my get, I should have 3. One, two, three. You might be on the wrong route and then trying to do a post, and that won't work. So just
I'll
make sure you
check it
take.
out.
Was that the problem?
I don't know. I'm just checking.
So if I do post testing and I send that, and then I do a get of all, there's my testing run right there. Go to my database here in Mongoose, refresh this, or Mongo Cloud.
Yeah, it's working now.
Perfect. Yeah, there's my 4. There's testing, be the most boring teacher ever, be the most boring teacher ever. Cool. So everything's working. That's awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be a lighter day today. So I'll probably just let you guys go early, or let you go early. I'm not sure if Yashu's still here or not, but yeah, that's basically going to be assignment 2, DC. So if you have that code working, maybe just tweak it so it's not about tasks. So you can make it whatever you want it to be. You could make it like colors, uploading your colors or uploading whatever, and deleting a color or something like that. Um, but I'll put the specifics of what the assignment is going to look like on Blackboard for you guys, and I'll upload the recordings and everything. But yeah, please don't like send the code, because that just kind of gives it away. And then I want the other people to learn and be able to follow along and stuff if they haven't been in class. So obviously being in class is the best way to actually get ahead and learn and all that stuff. So coming to class does help with the assignments. So um, yeah. If you do, yeah, just don't send the code, because if you do send the code, you'll also get penalized for plagiarism, if that makes sense. Sound good? Cool. All right. Trying to think. Let me open up my lesson plan to see if there's anything else for the day. Lesson plan. Update and delete. Assignment 2. Yeah. And then implementing it into a website. Yeah, I'll come up with the specifics for assignment 2 and let you guys know. But yeah, other than that, thanks for following along and being here. Glad everything's working for you. We'll let you go early. Oh, sweet. Yeah. Did you get yours working, Yashu? You did. Okay, cool. Yeah. I didn't know if you had any questions or not earlier, so that's good to hear. Sweet. Okay.
So
Um,
my code is working, but like in a status, it's like it's storing in an array type, like 0 for P, 1 for E, and pending like that.
okay.
I don't know
When
why.
you
It wasn't. It
created
wasn't. Do you
when
want
you
me to
created
share
your
my screen?
model, what did you put in here? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. When you create your model, what did you have here?
It's enum. Yeah.
And it's these options pending, ongoing, or completed.
I didn't wrote the type string about it. Yeah.
So then in Postman, you do status and then pending, or no?
Yeah, I did that.
And it's not working?
Storing in an array. Like,
Okay. Do you want to share your screen and we'll see if we can figure this out? Let's see
can you
here.
see the screen?
Yep.
But
Oh,
now I
interesting. Oh, pending.
can.
Oh, that's interesting. Um, so yours? Oh, I see. You're adding what are you doing there with your post? You're doing name hello?
Oh no, that was the previous one.
Yeah, just do that. Yeah. So you're creating a new task. Sending the request. Could not send.
Press. Showing request.
Pending ongoing. Okay, let's see what you have. You're missing a comma after string on line 18. There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Is that displaying correctly? So
Working.
now try creating a new one with a different
Yeah, so
status.
I just created. It's working.
So add another key underneath that with the word status and then the value, whatever your other value was in the enum, ongoing or something. I think it was. Yeah, ongoing. Send that, see if that returns.
Yep.
Ongoing. Cool. And then if you do a get, change your HTTP request to a get. Yeah. You should get 2 back, pending and
Yeah, it's
pending
working.
ongoing.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. Okay, great. That's easy. I like those ones when they're easy for me. And it's just a little comma missing. Okay, cool. All right, any other questions? No other questions? If there's no other questions, then yeah, enjoy your guys' evening and just be on the lookout for assignment 2. I'll send an announcement when it's ready. Um, thanks for being here and have a good weekend, guys.
Bye, you too.